Hello and welcome to the Fireside Chat. On behalf of ETCIO, I extend a welcome to all of you to today's Fireside Chat on building hyperscale-ready cloud environments through an optimized migration study. Basically, it's about lowering the total cost of ownership while building a modern, future-ready cloud infrastructure, which is one of the top CIO prerogatives today. Let me step back and just give you an overview on what entails the conversation today. So a NASSCOM finding says that in 2022, which was the last year, the year gone by, 53% organizations have increased cloud adoption. No surprise this. While India Inc. has embraced the cloud to a large extent, the key focus now is to maximize cloud investments in future-proof businesses. Minimal deployment time is essential to remain competitive, and so is workload mobility. CIOs must have complete visibility and control of their IT assets. Organizations are turning to hyperscale infrastructure to cater to fluctuating data demands. Lowering the TCO, or the total cost of ownership, while building a modern future-ready cloud infrastructure is one of the top CIO prerogatives today, as we already mentioned earlier. These objectives can be achieved through a comprehensive end-to-end cloud migration strategy, one that must factor in the necessity to identify dependencies and requirements of the existing IT infrastructure, including legacy equipment, while leading the journey seamlessly to modernization. So to give us some insights into these questions that we have before us, we have two industry leaders joining us. I'm happy to welcome to today's conversation Mr. Durga Prasad S., who is the EVP and CIO of Cholamandalam Investment and Finance Company Limited. Welcome, Durga.
Thank you. Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, and he's joined by another industry leader. I'm happy to introduce Mr. Anitosh Haldar, who's the SVP and Business Head, Data Center Cloud and Managed Services, SIFI Technologies Limited. Happy to welcome you, Anitosh. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So some of the points that we'll be kind of digging into, key discussion points that we'll be looking into very quickly would be about the common challenges companies face in migrating to the cloud or scaling existing infrastructure, and why a sound, comprehensive cloud migration studies the strategy is the bedrock to cloud success, and how partners like SIFI, whose approach to cloud migration can really help to build the right cloud environment, and which can kind of check off all SLAs and help achieve a company's business goals. TCO lowering, is going to be a key part of the discussion, and how is it that we're going to integrate achieving modernization goals even with legacy infrastructure in place. So let's quickly, without further ado, jump right into the discussion. I'm going to kind of invite Durga to set the context. I'm going to throw open the first question to you, Durga. Welcome once again. And here's my first question to you, and I think it'll be a bit of a context setting here.
Sure.
How important is it, for you in your organization as a digital leader when you're looking at modern scalable cloud infrastructure from your organizational perspective? And what were some of the business challenges you faced which necessitated this transition?
So I think where Cholamandalam stands today, I think is fairly typical of any organization which is in different stage of its journey to cloud. And, I think the key part would be to make sure that, maybe a few years ago, the question would have been why cloud? But now I think that question is off the table. It's typically default cloud. If not, why not, right? That's the way, most of the organizations have gone through the stage of cloud adoption. And what's more important is also the fact that it's not just one cloud or a combination. It's going to be a hybrid multi-cloud approach is where most organizations will end up. And the reason for that is going to be that, if you want to take best of breed services to enable your organization, and the key organization challenges would be, how do I deliver things in a very rapid or agile fashion? How do I enable innovation for the organization? And a lot of that becomes more naturally available in a cloud setup. So for a digital leader, the cloud becomes a great enabler to meet those business objectives of agility, innovation, and then be able to scale on demand, because the way the digitalization journey across the country has taken off, whether it's payment, digital lending, and so on, our ability to, quickly get up and running at scale is really enabled through cloud. So that's a big part of, how the whole transformation comes in. Now, typically the challenges would be that you not have all applications that are going to be at different stages of cloud maturity. And that's where having a partner who has been through the journey of typical co-location or data center hosting to how it transforms in your journey to cloud, they become a partner to enable us, that comes into play there.
Sure. Great. Thank you for that context setting, Durga. So I would kind of, reiterate this question a little differently to Anitosh. Welcome, Anitosh, once again. So you have had various conversations with partners and various organizations with different scales and different journeys in their, infrastructure processes. So if I were to put this question back to you, so how important or critical is modern scalable cloud infrastructure from a customer perspective and in the conversations that you've had? And what are some of the common business challenges you've seen customers really grappling with, which kind of necessitates a transition to more scalable cloud infrastructure? All yours.
Thank you so much. I think, the world before pandemic, the world in pandemic, and the world post pandemic has taken the definition of cloud adoption totally different way. Correct. When pandemic hit us, the business as usual was the point of view where the business needs to run, and it has to run from anywhere and everywhere. So people went ahead and took a cloud adoption, not looking at the cloud architecture. The enter as Durga rightly mentioned, the readiness of the enterprise applications on the cloud. And hence, people started taking calls because their business needs to be run. Now, when we are getting into a stable world and in the new world, what the challenges we first see in any discussions across any industry is the bill shock. Okay, because if you have taken a call of going to a cloud without not a proper understanding how much you want to go on a cloud native, how much you want to go on a bare metal, and how much you wanted to go on a SaaS or any kind of models by application, I think that's where the discussions are happening, and that's a common challenge. So we are taking a step back, and in our all discussions, what we are first analyzing is the current landscape. And every organization by its industry has an ambition or a goal to achieve. You can call it as digital ambition, which can be related to a revenue growth. It can be for CSAT, for customer experience, because it is directly related to their NPS and shares, right? So the discussion coming to the one single point of view is that how I can do a cost control. And that's where we are taking a 2 steps back. We are discussing with our partners or our clients where re-architecting is becoming the most important thing. So we as an organization is now working with the CIOs or different personas of the CIOs, because now CIO is not Chief Information Officer, it's a Chief Innovation Officer, right? So in that persona world, our discussion is very different. We are talking about reimagining or recalibrating the cloud journey. So like Durga said, it's no more a journey to cloud, it's a journey in cloud. Now that's a different world we are into. So re-architecting, choosing the right model for the right workload, horses for the courses, what we call it, it is becoming very important. And that's where the security framework, the resiliency part, I will call out the cost control point of view is the important parameter where people are looking at. And that's where we as an organization who took the baton 10 years back of bringing the hyperscaler into the country by hosting them into our data center and managing them, I think that 10 years of learning is helping us right now to reach to this level of discussion. So in a nutshell, common challenges will be bill shock because your architecture was not well defined. So we are working on that by re-architecting and bringing FinOps through our managed services. And this is how we are enabling our CIOs to become a revenue generating point of view, at the same time bringing customer experience, be it internal or external. So that's how we see the world right today.
Sure. Thank you, Anitush. And you mentioned something about kind of re-architecting the whole, protocol in terms of infrastructure. So it brings to me this critical question to, sort of ask Durga to step back a little and explain a little about the cloud journey that you had to, sort of initiate in your organization. So if you could tell us a little about your cloud journey. So I'm asking you to step back a little. And
Sure.
what were the key factors you considered while building a cloud migration strategy? So if you have top of the 5 factors or 3 factors, so just walk us through that, please.
Sure. I think the first part was, obviously take stock of what applications or workloads that we are running in our current setup, right? So there are 2 things to look at. One, what do you have today? And what is it that you require tomorrow? So if we are, to give an example, right, there are some workloads which are in the traditional 3-tier architecture, like Anitosh said, if you think of cloud as just a rehosting of applications from your on-prem or colo data center to cloud, then you are in for a massive bill shock. And that's where you need partners to come and look at what is it that it will take for these to be either re-architected or rebuilt for them to run much better in an optimal fashion on cloud. So that's the first part of taking stock of your applications and seeing how ready they are to move to cloud. Now, those could come in 2 fashions. Some, maybe you are looking for a replacement. If that is the case, then can we look at them to be a replacement solution that is more in a cloud native setup? So that's the decision or branching point you come to, that are we going to say that, okay, this is something that we can actually retire and a replacement is available in a cloud native architecture for us to run, which gives us the ability to scale as well as, optimally run from a commercials perspective. If not, if that is too critical an application, there is no ready alternative available on cloud. What do I need to do to, make it run on cloud without, suffering once I move there? So it could be a combination that can I progressively improvise as I move to cloud? And in fact, there were a couple of applications that we had in such form, which started off, partially on-prem, some services on cloud. And when we moved to cloud, then we went through the progress of progressive redesigning or re-architecting of that solution. And in fact, SIFI was a partner for one of our critical platforms where they helped us look at, what are the potential optimization opportunities. And we could see, as we progressed along, how it helped us both from a scaling perspective, as well as, how does it help us from a, whole commercial angle of, optimizing the way the different services are used and the period that they are used while, scaling to the needs of the business. So that's one part of existing applications. Now, during the course of past year or 2, we have also launched new lines of business. And in that, like I mentioned earlier, our initial question was, it should be cloud. Is there a direct solution available on cloud, which is based on cloud native architecture for us to tap onto straight away? So that's the kind of baseline approach we have taken. There are some other pieces where, we had old applications which we have moved totally to a SaaS model. So that's the other approach we can take. So there are going to be, applications that you either retire and rebuild. There are applications that you're going to rehost, redesign and re-architect to make them run better on cloud. There are going to be new applications directly born in cloud. And there are going to be legacy applications that you can replace with SaaS offerings. So that's the different ways we have taken it up.
Sure. So you kind of put them into 4 maps or 4 buckets, basically.
Oh, yeah, that's
great. So I will stay with you here, Durga, and kind of ask you another question here. So, in what exact ways are you future-proofing your business, and how are you now maximizing your cloud investments? Now that you put the things into 4 buckets, So there are two things you'll have to look at: future-proofing and maximization. So if you could just give us some insights.
So I think future-proofing in a couple of ways. One, obviously, work with partners, but also start building our own capability. And like I said earlier, the way you run your shop from on a typical data center versus running on cloud services, there is a definite bit of reskilling or upskilling required to be capable to run that. So future proofing from our capability to handle to a certain extent, that's one part of what we are doing from an operational perspective. Now, from a business impact perspective, obviously, what we are trying to do is making sure there are two ways to go about it. When you say future proofing, in the sense that, are you going to use a least common denominator set of services such that, today, I'm running on a certain hyperscaler. Do I have an option to easily move to other? That's one way to look at it from a future proofing perspective. But then that also means that you may not be able to take advantages of what a hyperscaler provides as value-added capabilities on top of that common denominator. So our ability to future-proof runs in terms of, do we have intimate knowledge of what are those value-added services, and being able to make sure that we have capability to, have alternate options, either internally or alternate with alternate providers to do that, so that we take advantage of the best technical capabilities the providers give us without losing on the option. So that's one part of the future proofing there. The other is making sure that we are a regulated business, which means that when a regulator comes in, we need to be able to show them where are the demarcations from a segregation of duty perspective, where are the layers of privileged access management, auditing, and logging. So those are pieces we need to be able to have in from a day one. That's going to be kind of a table stakes requirement for us to say these are non-negotiable pieces when we go into cloud. So again, some parts we work with providers to like SIFI to come and give us those basics so that the foundational blocks are rock solid for us to build for the future.
Sure. So you kind of lead me into the next corollary question, which is around your partner, So you did mention this just a moment ago and a little earlier as well when we were conversing. So what exactly were your evaluation criteria in terms of capabilities that SIFI could bring in while you are building and modernizing your cloud infrastructure, A?
Yeah.
And what exactly would be the capabilities you would be expecting from your cloud partner in this process? So you did lightly touch upon it. If you could elaborate a little more in this.
Sure, definitely. I think the core is somebody who has deep knowledge and expertise spanning, not just, some partners may be purely having a certain hyperscaler's specific capabilities. But somebody who has, capabilities spanning the traditional setup on a typical data center versus how it transitioned to cloud and has gone through that journey in a proven fashion. That expertise was critical for us in terms of somebody understanding what workloads make sense in what stage and what phase, right? So that's a big part of ability there. The other is making sure that, it's not just that capability, but also being able to think from our perspective, right? And that's where some of the interactions and, value in seen in the partnership with them was, how do I go and optimize? It could be, can I do a well-architected application review? Can I come and then say, how do I optimize the billing? Because, for some, their incentives are aligned in terms of the revenue billing they generate, right? But that, in my view, is a typical short-term view that a partner may take or a vendor may take. But if you look at it from a partnership perspective, what we have seen it is their ability to come and really show value in terms of, the engagement, both at this kind of services they provide, but also beyond to say what is a long-term option that they can provide for us. So it's not just looking at a short-term revenue, but how it works for us in the long term. And that's where really, our relationship with them has shown, and they have created the real value for us there. Sorry, you're on mute, I think.
Yes, Anitush, I kind of, invite you here at this point of time. So Durga spoke about, the kind of value partners such as SIFI can bring in. So you've also seen the other side of the story in terms of customer conversations. So what are the capabilities SIFI kind of translates into action while helping customers build a scalable modern infrastructure? And what is it that you think customers really expect from you and the value that you bring in as differentiators? If you could list out some, please.
I think I will go by the point Durga made. See, it is not a discussion of how many certified engineers or certified skill sets we have, right? This is a basic, I think this is a basic error any of the SIs does when they move into this discussion. See, we are a CSP first and MSP second, because I'm proud to share that before the hyperscalers were landed in India, SIFI has its own cloud infinite, which is a public cloud. So it was almost 2007, so 15 years back. What we learned from that is that it cannot be only a delivery-led discussion of a BAU or a SLA uptime point of view. If innovation has to hit, if the continuous improvement and cost control, what Durga was telling, re-architecting needs to be done, we need to invest in engineering team. And the differentiation of today's SIFI with any other provider is that engineering team. Because a delivery person who can only talk about a BAU and it's always an avocado discussion, which is always green and red from below, right? Engineering team will always come and give you the innovation and transformative way by controlling the cost, because it has to be a business case discussion, correct? So that is where the investment for the last 1 decade we have done. And that's where we have seen the value add that we can bring, because all this FinOps, all this architecture point of view, assessment of the landscape in the cloud, we being a telecom and data center and infrastructure player, understanding the application landscape and telling which can be cloud native, what not. This has all evolved through this engineering investment, through the tools, through the automation, through the assessment point of view that we have learned. And to be very honest, you go to any industry today, maybe the core application will change. While Durga was talking about lending point of view in banking, they will call us auto lending point of view, right? It's more or less the process is same. The volume just differ from here and there. If I go to an MRD, they will call it ERP as the core, the CRM as the point of view. But in a bank, retail banking also, CRM is a very important stuff, correct? So what we understood is that today infrastructure as a service is just not a commodity play. It is a commodity play if you're just going and talking about a refresh point of view where a business case of a cloud doesn't work. But if you relate that discussion of a outcome with a business by the applications point of view, it can be, as I was telling, it can be towards revenue growth or towards customer experience, which is giving a direct impact to the top line or the bottom line of the organization. That's where you make a lot of impact as a partner. And that is what we are working towards. Today, if you look at the use case, that the way we go and proudly talk about Cholamandalam is how the re-architecting we have continuously done with Durga's team along with his direction, and how the FinOps and the optimization point of view we have built, which has helped them into an innovation, which has taken their market, go-to-market much faster, right? At the end of the day, it is a business that needs to run fast, agile, and flexible. Right? While cost can be optimized, but the more important is how much I can take the market share. I think both as a team, we were focused on that, and that is how it is all the discussions happening. I can name a number of customers who are non-financials or insurance companies, healthcare organization today also taking, where the regulation is up to the top of the brass, where you have to meet the quality control, the audit parameters point of view. But the discussion or business case of any cloud adoption or digital ambition, whichever way you choose the word, it is related to an outcome. And if we are working towards the outcome, towards the technology, then business case fits into the point of view and our solution goes through. So in nutshell, if I come out of this discussion, then the point I'm trying to make is engineering team is the differentiation, because if you are not, those are the days when I was part of HP, when we used to call as HP Invent. Correct, where lab test was the biggest thing, and that's where the product was getting differentiated. This is a services organization. So in a services organization, if your engineering understanding is not innovative by industry, you will not add value. And that is what we are more focused to do that.
Thank you for that, Anitosh. I mean, thanks for that insight. I'll stay with you here. So, since you also brought up, the whole story of the market in the hyperscale cloud infrastructure space. So, how do you, I mean, envisage, in your perspective as an industry thought leader, what role do you envision hyperscale cloud infrastructure playing out in 2023 and beyond? We are almost at the end of the first month of the calendar year. So if you could just tell us a little more about that and what organizations should look at as goals in this space.
See, when it comes to cloud, 100% cloud doesn't mean public cloud or a hyperscale cloud. Okay. I will talk about India today. This is a country of volume, and this is the country of complex process. This is a country of omni-channel 360-degree view. So if you have to put all of these three together, where revenue growth and customer satisfaction is the core of discussion, hyperscaler can't be the only 100% choice. So as an organization, that's where you will see we have tried to complement each other. The hyperscaler partnership that we are doing with AWS, Google, Azure, is where we are bringing our cloud infinite story, okay, which is not a hyperscaler, which is predictable, at the same time cost control, at the same time audited, because sometimes some of the organizations with RBI, SEBI, even MIT, or even GRC for MRT, or even in quality FDA point of view from pharmaceuticals, they want to come and audit their reports directly into your data center. That might be a problem today for hyperscalers. And that's where we build this complementary stack, which goes as a kind of hand in gloves and help them in first on the governance and regulations point of view. The second point of view is that there are certain workloads who doesn't like exactly what Durga was telling me. It needs to be re-architected, re-platformed towards the public cloud, which we cannot, and we need to use or maybe re-architected, but it doesn't have a business case to go to public cloud or utilize because the economy of scale is not working out. There, this kind of clouds fits in. So we basically enable and enhance the hyperscaler journey more by building this kind of clouds along with the hyperscaler. So that the overall journey, the overall vision of a cloud-first organization like Durga is building, how we can fast track that. Because going forward, when automation, when productivity, when the tool service management will fall in the place, when the FinOps will be in right sense, then these workloads will start getting ready for the hyperscaler journey also. So this is, as an organization, we believe we basically complement with the hyperscaler to make the journey towards cloud much easy. And coming back to the point of the market today, 100% everybody has understood the power of cloud. There is no point of view, and Durga made a fantastic point of view that it's no more good to have. It is must to have, right? And the biggest application today, which is most complex, which was the most complex thing, was your AD exchange. Today, after pandemic, the kind of hybrid workforce we have, you have to go on a cloud model like a 365 or a workspace point of view, Google Workspace point of view, right? If that is the volume, that is the kind of immediate, I will say, agile system which is moving to cloud, which is continuously, I will say, front-ending security issues, okay? If that can work, where your employee is immediately in forefront of any kind of resiliency, I think architecting it proper with the right model choice, as Durga was mentioning, when to use SaaS, when to use IaaS, which for we need to go for PaaS. This will make the life much easier to adopt the cloud and get the benefits out of it. So that is my point of view. And lastly, Durga is one of our esteemed customer, where we have come out with an IP, which is a CMP. It's a cloud management platform IP, which is a multi-cloud management platform IP with FinOps. What we are trying to give help to the organization is that how you can adopt multi-cloud, how you can use Google for analytics, how you can use the power of storage and infrastructure from AWS, how you can use the power of database, AI/ML point of view and visualization point of view from Azure. Okay. How you don't want to put on CapEx on a refresh, but went into an OpEx model on a Cloud Infinite, CFI Cloud Infinite, and build the predictive workload there, right? All these four, how we can manage. At the same time, I have to keep something for DR on-prem, which has to be on a hosted model on a data center. How we can manage this entire full spectrum is what we looked at and created this platform, which is I think we have now 150 customers working on that. And we have the kind of productivity, automation, and the FinOps point of view, and the cost control that we are bringing is enormous. So that's where we are trying to enable further to enhancing the digital traction for our clients.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Anitosh. So, Durga, any closing insights from your end in terms of how you see hyperscale cloud infrastructure playing out and your organization's modernization goals integrated to this, and sort of maybe a broad 30,000 feet insight which you could share, please.
So, like Anitosh said, everyone will have a role to play, and there will be a certain role that hyperscale providers will play, but they are not going to be the all-encompassing only solution for us. So whether it's going to be some which will run there because there are maybe some kind of workloads that are better suited there. Meaning it's almost like you want to go have sweets, you will go to a certain shop, but you want to go for savories, you'll go to another shop. So almost like that. And with some of the data residency, privacy requirements, and if you want to process Aadhaar kind of data, you may need a certain environment where you can point to the regulator that this is the rack, this is the particular RU where my load is running or my data is stored. Then there is going to be only certain providers who will be able to meet that kind of criteria. So my view is whether it's hyperscaler or cloud partners like CFI and others, or traditional data center colo providers, each will have a certain role to play. I think it will be a partnership to decide what fits in best for each of these scenarios and take advantage of that for organizations.
Great. It looks like it's interesting times ahead with a lot of choice at play for all stakeholders.
Yeah. But the whole point is make sure you are carefully thinking through and taking the call, because while it seems easy to get in, it may not be as easy to get out, right? So you need to be careful, but once you make the right decision, then you can take a lot of you can see the value from a lot of the functional capabilities that each of these different providers bring to the market.
Yes, very important. Great point there that any decision should be well thought through before one really plunges in, because getting in is easy, but then doing thinking through and acting through becomes the critical part, right? So great. Thank you for tuning in to the Fireside Chat. Let us now welcome Anitosh back to give us a more detailed walkthrough and a presentation on the same theme.
As an organization, the transformation that we are trying to build within all our clients and partners is that we are trying to rebalancing the act of cloud and taking the ambition of digitization or enhancing the ambition of digitization and recalibrate. So that's how we as an organization is looking forward to. In this scenario, if we move forward, we are in a situation where there was a pandemic and we just come after a pandemic. So what changed? What changed our life in pandemic? What we have learned and how it has accelerated the motion of agility is what we will try to touch upon in the next slide. So these are the paths we walked with our clients very clearly. Okay, the entire cost model is no more service oriented; it is more business aligned. Operation and work from anywhere became the most necessity in today's world, and today it is more a hybrid way of working rather than coming to office, and it's like working from anywhere and everywhere. DR and BCP, which was good to have as a regulation, is must now, because people have understood if such things can again happen, the business cannot stop, it has to run. So these are the three key charters which we understood with our clients, and that led us to more emphasize on the re-architecture of the enterprise network, because the entire architecture to build this business model aligned, business aligned cost model and the operations from anywhere along with BCP. The architecture need to be relooked, and that's where we put up a lot of focus. And obviously, migration to cloud started happening much faster than what we envisaged. So if we move to the next point of view, the mindset before pandemic was majorly into the four buckets, right? People were cloud ready, cloud friendly, but the skepticism of going to cloud was very high. Today, after pandemic, if you look at that, skepticism has gone. Everybody wanted to be somehow cloud user or a cloud enabler for their organization. And that note, if we move further ahead, what was good to have has become must to do, correct? And CFI in that scenario, if we go to the next slide, has started being part of the journey of their clients from operations-led to an innovations-led discussions. It's no more a BAU, and hence it is changing the entire enterprise. In that change, what we are seeing, we are seeing our digitization happening on the operations point of view and the customer experience point of view. And there are three touch points in which the discussions are going on in any organization today. First is that how you can make my operations more agile and efficient. Second is that how you can make my IT and application towards the business more modernized. And then how you can bring more agile way of rather agile way of helping to scale the IT into that level so that the business can take calls on fly. So in these three categories, we as an organization generally are partnering with our clients. And it is an outcome that we are looking from the business point of view, which can be revenue growth, customer experience, or operational efficiency point of view. So that is what we try to capture in this slide. And if we move forward from this slide, this is what is exactly happening today on ground. How the digital ambitions are emerging, and the personas are not just we are discussing to a CIO. It is beyond a CIO also. It is around the CIO rather. So in a boardroom, when we are meeting the CXOs, they are more looking at how you can transform my BAU and bring more innovation in the same TCO. When we are talking to a line of business head or a CIO, the business has to be agile, hence they are more focused on app migration. Data journey is must because that is the intelligence insights that bring to business, and how it can be more agile and more modernized is another discussion. And obviously, people wanted to go to cloud on the infra point of view, where it can be a modernization of infra, like an infrastructure as a code or a hybrid cloud discussions, or it is a land and expand discussion that is happening. So this is in the four categories we are right now engaging with the personas, which is just not a CIO, it's around the CIO, and that makes the life much overwhelming. Yeah, right. So let's move forward. And what happens then? The discussion is no more tactical. It is not about IT performance, cost predictability, resiliency, regulations audit, compliance or utilization rates. It's also about how it is impacting to our business. Is it for the revenue growth? What is the profitability we are bringing with the solutions? Are we able to do new customer acquisition? This is rating my customer satisfaction, which will help me in my NPS score, or my time to market has really fastened. And obviously, we are competitive in the journey or not. So this left-hand side and right-hand side, tactical and strategic understanding is where we are starting first. And if we understand exactly what is the goal as an organization, our clients, our partners are trying to reach from the strategic initiative point of view, the outcome, which I spoke about in the first slide on the business aligned cost model, is very easy. And I'll give you an example. In the largest consumer base when it comes to utility today, their entire billing runs on CFI Cloud Infinite, and the model is not an infrastructure as a service or a per VM model. It is a model of per transaction. So it makes the life easy for a CFO in what he's earning per unit and how much cost he's giving to CFI for that. So this kind of models, when you know your strategic outcomes very clear, falling under which category, it helps the IT to not only transform, but it has a quantitative view or a qualitative in nature. So That's making the discussion more interesting going forward, and we are seeing more business aligned cost models getting discussed, and that's how the KRA and the KPI discussions are happening across all the IT transformation. Correct. So that leads to the next slide, that it is overwhelming journey. You are doing too many stuffs, right? So how we can play a role in that journey and make it more easy and scalable. Correct. That's where today's CFE is. The slide talks about a lot of things. Just look at the bottom line, right? Today we are talking to a CIO on an intelligent application, how these applications, business apps can have an intelligence mode and more evolve, evolve as an agile way of working. Obviously, industry-led use cases can be built on it with AI, ML, or some kind of transformation strategy. How we can bring the edge cloud network working so that the work from anywhere, which is like an invisible way of working, can be enabled. And over and above that, obviously, security is the concern. So, how the managed security services across this multi-platform way of enabling our services can be secured or be resilient. And obviously, then if you're having a smart edge, that needs to be managed, and it needs to be having both the IT and OT part of it. So today, CFE is in all of this, because we started our journey in 1995 as the first ISP. We started our journey in 2000 as the first data center provider in India. We started our journey in 2008 as the first cloud provider, even before the hyperscaler. And all this learning, being a telecom provider, being a data center colo provider, then a cloud provider, all this learning has helped us to build this entire portfolio. That this enables us for the further to make it more business ready discussions with the IT transformation that we can build with this portfolio. Yeah, from it, let's move. So that brings to a point that why is CFE the right partner? Correct. And we were and the way Shramik started that the agenda of migration is very important today on cloud. So what we do, we take two steps back, because as a country, majorly all the industries has done some kind of investments. They cannot just move 100% to cloud. So how we can enable that journey so that the digital enhancement can happen fast. So we take two steps back, and we work with our engineering team on assessing and discovering what is the right application or the right workloads, looking at the business outcome. Is it for cost benefit, or is it for an ROI for taking the market share, which can give them a faster or a flexible way of working, along with getting the faster ROI point of view, right? Then, after we understand and re-architect the entire cloud strategy with a proper architecture with security, we give a lot of focus on the migration. The seamless migration is a very easy word, but it's not so easy, correct? So if your architecture it is not correctly, I will say, depicted, then the migration strategy will go wrong. So that's why we give a lot of focus from our engineering team on the assessment and the discovery to come out with the right architecture along with the security point of view. Then what we do is that we create a view of what can be in hyperscaler, what can be non-hyperscaler, and we create a migration strategy. And there we used a lot of tools as an organization which can give the migration much faster and seamless. Here also, CFE's experience of hosting the major hyperscalers like AWS, Google, Oracle, and Azure in their data center helps in the migration strategy much faster, because our data centers are hyperscaler adjacent, right? So if you are part of that same data center with your infrastructure, be it as a colo provider or using a CFE, which is like a hosted private cloud, it is in the same campus. You can do the transition between a hyperscaler and a non-hyperscaler. So that migration point of view with the RTO is much faster. It helps you to fast connect, and that's where the connecting to cloud, the point that I made on hyperscaler adjacency, became very, very important. Obviously, when we are doing the architecture discussion, security is the first point of view, and security today is not about technology. If we are talking to a BFSI, if we are talking to a industry manufacturing company, if you're talking to an automobile company, if you're talking to an e-commerce company, all of them has their own regulations. So what we have done within our organization, we have created a security team who only focus on the regulations by industry. Once we understand those regulations, by that regulations, what workload and what architecture we need to build to comply to those regulations is what we focus majorly in the security point of view. Then comes what we've created an IP called CMP, which is the cloud management platform, which gives you a visibility and control, right? Today, we cannot say that you have to be 100% with one of the cloud providers. You can use multi-cloud, you can use hybrid cloud, you can use a private cloud, you can use a public cloud, you can also use multi-cloud, right? Multi-hyperscalers. In that, how you can have a unified view and control that visibility or the resource utilization properly on a unified dashboard is what is the strength of this tool is. You don't need to log in Azure separately, AWS or Google separately with this management platform that we bring in. And that leads us to the policy set for the cloud, which help you to do the cost optimization. Because we, within this tool, we have created a FinOps, and that constant utilization point of view keep on giving us the intelligence that which VM or when I will be using a PaaS services or when I don't need to use the cloud native services, where if I have in a peak of a JFM year-end closure, which of the finance modules needs to be more agile and faster, while the other, which doesn't need so much of focus, can be idle, and how we can save costs there. So all this kind of intelligence, from our FinOps tool, part of the CMP platform, is a constant view and a constant intelligence or insight that we bring to our customers. So this is in a nutshell how CIFI, beyond the technology, the platform, as a service provider, helps any of the organization to build their digital ambition. Correct? Let's move to the next slide. And this is the learning. It's very clear. Everybody have a question. Which one to go for public cloud? What I should take to private cloud? I think we have understood it very clearly. Any elastic workload with the outcome towards digitization or any kind of revenue growth will be falling under public cloud. There's a kind of elasticity and flexibility and agility. It's a speed that they can bring, no other cloud can bring it. But if you're governed on the workloads on regulatory performance, predictable cost point of view, then hosted private cloud services like CIFI Cloud Infinite is the key. And majorly we have seen one of the steel giants in the world, in fact the largest steel giants, when they moved their entire core SAP to AWS, which were we migrated as a CIFI, the DR, the regulations, and some of the non-SAP piece which will be integrated with the core was on CIFI Cloud Infinite services, and it was in a hybrid point of view. If you go to banking, today RBI has relaxed, SEBI has relaxed a lot of regulations, and I'm part of the one of the councils where we are discussing how to take the banks towards cloud and make it more digitization. Look at ICICI Bank today. They have a huge on-prem setup which is in colo out of us, but they have taken a data analyzed marketing initiatives or sales acquisition entirely on cloud. Okay. So every industry today looking at the workload, what is the outcome that workload fetches, and the regulatory point of view, have a hybrid decision. And if you are in a hybrid decision, very important how to manage this. Very important that the insights I spoke about on the last slide about how we can bring that cost optimization or control point of view for you. And that's where, as a CIFI, we believe our platform is unique. And that's where people like third-party analysts like Gartner's, IDCs of the world has acknowledged us as one of the leaders in managed cloud managed services across APJ. So this is where the game is changing. And if I move further forward, how it is changing the life of a CIO? It is making him more innovative, and he is becoming a more chief innovation officer rather than a chief information officer. In that note, I will go a bit deep going forward, where we would like to present how we are very different from any other partners with AWS. Correct. because our major references across steel industry, automobile, life sciences, all our cloud major references are majorly with AWS. So migration point of view, for the last 6 years, the way we have partnered and taken some of the huge migrations in a zero downtime point of view or business disrupted point of view, I think we have done absolutely great job there. You will see app modernization, DevOps, connecting to AWS seamlessly, multi-cloud management is also a discussion all service provider doing. But the uniqueness that we bring along with AWS is the content delivery network, the cloud processor services which we have enabled with them. And we being a telecom provider who has 3,000 POPs across India, we are using their solution to make it a edge-ready, data center. Where if somebody wants to take like one of the retail giants who has 380 retails across India, and they also moving towards e-commerce. They wanted to have age-ready consumption-based insight analytics for their sales motion, and that's where we have built this kind of solution, which has helped them to enable and get the market share more. So Stiffy, in nutshell, with AWS is just not a cloud service provider. It is also enabling the other services of AWS, which is enhancing our digital journey for our customers beyond just a cloud platform. It is also towards a network transformation through the CDN. It is also towards microservices or bare metal services on AWS, like one of the biggest stock exchange company in India. Their website is hosted on AWS on Kubernetes microservices, containerization. That was done by us, and we managed it for the last 3 years. So the kind of references that we have jointly showcased till for the last 6 years, I think that's where our skill sets like went majorly high, and our certification level has gone way beyond. We are the largest migration certification holder for AWS. We have the AWS Direct Connect, which other providers can have, but we have multi-tier direct connect with them. You call it in the public sector, or you talk about private banking. We are way ahead with them on that customer base. So with AWS, we are taking the streamlining of enhancing the digital ambition beyond just providing a cloud or a consumption-based model. It is more to do with the transformation and innovations that we are bringing, and that's helping us to give our customers a business-aligned cost model. Yep, let's go to the next one. So some of the case studies we can discuss. This is one of the very large life insurance company whose entire migration on cloud happened in JFM. And JFM is being the last quarter. It's very important that you cannot stop your business, and at the same time, they had to take this agile model of delivering their services on cloud. We did it with AWS, right? We did it. We took them on the cloud. We created the entire data center on that. The DR was done on our Cloud Infinite, and it's a hybrid cloud point of view, which helped overall a 25% reduction in yearly cost for them. Let's move forward. Keep going. Then we went to a general insurance organization whose digital transformation was very clearly called out that these are the use cases in digital point of view I need to do, and since these are the these are the workloads we need to manage, and what needs to be re-architected. So we created it again, AWS and Cifi Cloud Infinite together. We built a digital application model for this general insurance, which basically improved their availability of IT infrastructure in backend, and it helped to move the IT team more into new initiatives and adoption of new age, new age services going forward. Which TCO point of view, you might not have. They have not seen such savings, but ROI point of view, because their market share, the market share went up, the CSAT went up considerably, which is equivalent to earning dollars. So if I go to the next one. This is what the retail giant I was talking about, who is changing after 3 years of, they were at the 5 years of contract with us as a managed service provider. But in the third year, they said that when we contracted, we were more focusing on, expanding on the retail outlets across India. Now the situation has changed and we wanted to become an e-commerce company. So this organization totally changed their business outcome model, and hence we had to also change. And to become an e-commerce company, we hosted first their website into an AWS. We created module with Amazon, not AWS. Amazon, the mother company, because that is the best e-commerce company today in the world. And we helped them to create the functional models which help them to go for market share acquisition, and obviously their customer experience went way ahead. And today we have gone live in last month with them, and they are leveraging 80% of their entire workload on AWS and 20% with our co-location services. So that's another unique way of hybrid cloud migration and management that we are doing with this retail giant. The next one is a global steel major. I think it's the largest steel company, and all of the 8 group companies I was talking about, taking them from SAP to AWS. And it was a huge learning, because this SAP discussion or decision was not based on the upgrade towards a HANA or a database, correct? It was more towards the business digital use cases that they're bringing. And they had all the use cases towards revenue growth, CSAT and NPS score, correct? And customer experience. Those functional modules of SAP, creating the architecture, because CFI has invested on a basis team, SAP basis team internally, and we have 100 plus employees who are based out of Hyderabad, which is our SAP COE. We brought in that view and we created, along with the consultant, the entire SAP functional module based architecture first, and then we start carving them out to the cloud in AWS. Obviously, the DR we put it on our cloud, and we created a hybrid cloud model. But today, if you look at this organization, 8 group companies majorly has moved into AWS on the core with SAP, and now the CRM and non-SAP piece is getting integrated from our cloud in the same data center, which is helping them on the RTO, RPO, and obviously with our CMP management platform. It is helping them to do the cost control in the months where they need to run certain programs, which we are enabling for them, because we, being the migration partner, certified partner for AWS, we also enable certain fundings by quarters, and it keeps on changing in the quarters, and help this organization to do cost optimization, to build in the cost optimization, the TCO, at the same time going ahead and making the ROI much faster with customer acquisition or even market share acquisition or any kind of customer experience or CSAT point of view. So these are some of the case studies I thought was relevant by industries. You have seen it is different industries, and which will help you to understand that CFI is not a pointed discussion. CFI is a portfolio which needs to co-create together as a service provider for you. Obviously, we can go ahead and talk more, and I spoke about this case study a little while earlier, where the website has been totally moved to the the Kubernetes services on AWS, and it's been running for the last 3 years without any, I would say, downtime or any problem. Even it is a stock exchange, so security was very key while depicting this architect of Kubernetes. So, in that note, what I will do is that I will open up the forum to have more interaction. Rather than dry run further with the slides. So, Shomik, over to you, and I'm happy to take questions.
Much for that, Amitosh. I think there were some great points that you made today, especially the one around security not being a technology anymore. Now, just to give the audience on, what are the most,
sorry, Shomik.
What are the biggest challenges? Are you able to hear me?
I can hear you, but it's coming with stammering. That's okay. Can you?
Okay. All right. Now, the main thing that we are going to be figuring out right now, we need to gauge is, what are the main factors that's impeding cloud migration. So with that, let's go ahead with the first poll. Let's figure out, what are the biggest challenges that our audience finds when it comes to cloud migration. So we're going to be launching the poll in a couple of seconds. We'll give you about 10 or 15 seconds, and then let's see what of the poll options turns out to be the biggest challenge.
Okay.
First poll. We have another poll in store for you, but then, let's try and figure out, what is the audience sentiment on the first question before we move to the next poll one. All right. So there, quite close, I would say. The first two factors are complexity and lack of visibility and control. Lack of visibility, visibility and control was the first point that you actually brought up in your presentation, Anitos. So, any thoughts on that around the challenges coming from visibility
Yeah.
and control?
I think I will touch upon all these 4 points. It's all are relevant and it's very true. Okay. Obviously, complexity comes first when we want to take and that's where it is more a business discussion rather technical discussion, because we need to understand what as an organization is the end result that's going to come out. Basis that which are the workloads will be affecting to this outcome. Basis that those workloads, what is the current landscape and assessment we need to do. Once we do these 3 things properly and create the new architecture, then it is not a complex. Then we know from business side also what will be my ROI. At the same time, I know my migration approach will be also how it will be done and how resilient it is. Okay. Second point comes on the lack of visibility. And that is where I was trying to touch upon the point, and I saw Sandeep has written on CMP also. So CMP for us is a platform that we give as a part of our managed services. We don't sell it as a license. Okay. So that's the first answer, Sandeep. And I will be happy to take a demo offline if it matter, if you can give us time. Coming back to the point of visibility, what we do in this platform is that we integrate to any of the clouds, including the infrastructure if it is hosted even in our data center. Okay. And we can give you by VM level, by GB level, your visibility by workload, how much you're utilizing. Okay. And that will help you to understand that what is your cloud usage accordingly, rather infrastructure usage accordingly, how much of VMs are idle. Today that transparency is not there, hence there is no cloud policy, hence the cost is going up. And that was the third question, the TCO, why it is going up. The second point of the TCO is very important is the architecture. When I'm building the architecture, do I really need to use the native services of the cloud? What is the outcome that will achieve? When I should be on a path. So cloud is a architecture and delivery model that if we correct that in the time of assessment, then this bill shock that we see in the TCO that is happening across I will say across the industry, then it is not a TCO issue any further. Correct. So very clearly, if you see, all the large giants are moving to clouds. Everybody is moving to cloud today, and now they in the operation are looking that how I can make it more insightful by getting more visibility and control, which will automatically bring this FinOps story and get your cost optimization. And the last question, what was the last question? I just what is the last point of the poll? You're on mute.
Sorry. So the other ones that we had were on complexity. That was one of the things that the people actually put forth. And the other 2 points that they pointed out, the ones that got 29% each, was high TCO and also compatibility with legacy infrastructure.
Correct. So I think compatibility, I have covered the other 3. The compatibility with the legacy infrastructure is very important. And that's where hybrid cloud, we keep on telling, every cloud is not hyperscaler. Everything cannot go 100% to hyperscaler, right? That's where the hybrid cloud architecture is very important. And that's why my slide, which I showed that which workload we talk about going to public cloud, which workload we talk about going to a consumption-based model in a hosted point of view, is where we use this legacy hardwares and we mitigate through our orchestration layer, which can integrate with the hyperscaler at the same time with the VMs that is running with the legacy infrastructure, and can give a hybrid point of view, and you use it like a consumption-based model.
Absolutely, great point. Would you want to take the second question also, Anitos? The one that was posted on the forum here.
What is that?
Yeah, so that pretty much answers all the questions that we had around CMP and the complexity and the points that we touched upon. So thank you for that, Anitos. Now, Anitos, moving on to the next question. If you could tell us, how important today is, a hyperscalable infrastructure, and what kind of a role does it play in future-proofing businesses tomorrow? If you could, just point out three things off the top of your head. Uh, what are the main factors that CIOs must consider when they are planning to future-proof their business?
No, Shamik, there is some problem on your side on the audio. What was the exact question? Can you just repeat it once?
Okay, I'm so sorry. Let me get off the headphone. I think.
Yeah, that's better. I think that's better.
All right. Am I audible now?
Much better. Keep going.
Much better. All right. Let's stick with this. All right. Sorry about that. So Anitosh, the thing I was asking you about is, if you could tell us, what kind of a role would a hyperscalable infrastructure play in building a modern, future-ready business for tomorrow? If you could say, what are the three factors that CIOs would need to put in place today to ensure that they are successful tomorrow?
See, I will again say, cloud is it's a delivery model. So any delivery model only runs good or successful when the architecture is correct. Architecture is related to the workload. Workload is related to the business outcome. So it boils down to very simple stuff. What is the organization business outcome they are going to solve? And if you look at in that cases, all the major banks or major manufacturing industry or even life science industry who has taken a huge cloud journey, right? They have been successful majorly on the, I will say, the customer facing applications where they can get revenue growth or bring customer experience, and which needs constant development and a dev test point of view. Those kind of agile and flexible workloads will be majorly on hyperscaler. Okay. And that can give you an outcome on your digital enhancement much faster. So any digital use cases that you are looking forward to, the dev test is totally has to be in seconds today, in days today. It cannot wait for weeks or a month, because it is related to an outcome of one of the three parameters of business, either revenue growth or customer experience or CSAT score, correct? So today, CIOs or the personas across the CXOs who has taken the cloud journey, who is able to define the right strategy along with the tactical point of view with the architecture properly in place, they are successful towards the hyperscaler adoption.
Understood. Some great points there. Now, you did touch upon this, Anitosh. You talked about the cost factor, but then one phrase that we keep hearing all the time is TCO. If you could share, what are some of the things that CIOs can do to lower the total cost of ownership? Also, how does SIFI play a role in that?
So we play a major role, and sometimes we have seen that a hyperscaler doesn't like us also, because we take a very, I will say, we take a very very honest and transparent view, because the moment you understand the business outcome and accordingly you put the workload segregation, do the architecture. We take some calls while we have even taken calls where we have called out that you don't need a cloud native services. Okay, while you are already having a web, how I can integrate with the cloud services that coming from AWS or any other hyperscaler. So that service delivery model with the point of view of usage that we built for the first 6 months or 1 year, when the stability goes in, that's where we first touch upon the policy. That's where we first create the policy of cloud, and automatically we see the cost control going forward with our FinOps and other tools that we use, right? So again, it is a delivery model needs to be very clear. Which workload should be part of infrastructure as a service? Which workload should go to PaaS? Which workload should go to SaaS? Cloud is a delivery model, and according to this, which is creating what kind of ROI? Is majorly we have seen infrastructure as a service discussions are towards cost cutting or other cost optimization. PaaS and SaaS discussion is about making the business agile, so that whatever I am investing, it doesn't matter if my cloud, like the retail organization I was talking about, their cloud utilization has gone by 10x. but it has not hit them, because that 10x has brought 100x of business, because that has enabled their business to be so agile and flexible and so fast towards their customer acquisition. The ROI is very high. So it is about how you look at. So each of the delivery models for those workloads defines the outcome. Cost optimization will be for infrastructure as a service. PaaS and SaaS will be about acquisition, growth rate, and ROI. It might not be that it is very cost effective solution. Correct?
Understood. Now, Anitosh, as we have CIOs planning for what's in store for IT in 2023, let's take a quick look at what their cloud objectives are in 2023 and beyond. So with that, we are going to be launching the second poll. And the second poll is going to be around what are your cloud objectives in 2023? So we're going to be looking at whether you wish to make it more resilient, whether security is going to be your prime focus, or is it going to be scalability, or the favorite TCO, reducing TCO. So with that, let's quickly launch the second poll here. All right, audience, we get about 10 to 12 seconds. Please share your inputs with us. I think the first poll was really interesting. Very close options there. So let's have a look at this one now. Right, we've got about 5 seconds left. All right, so that was the second poll. Let's quickly have a look at what those poll results were. Again, a very, very close poll. Security, like you rightly pointed out.
These are connected points, to be very honest. Cloud security and resiliency is connected. Okay. Scaling up and TCO is connected. So again, I will take it up one by one, and I should answer all of them. It's very relevant. It is not one is very important. I will start from resilient and security. I keep on harping on this point in this webinar, is that if we don't assess, if we don't create a right architecture, a resilient architecture, when I say resilient architecture, which is very much possible today in cloud, resiliency is much higher than a DCDR, NDR, FDR, whatever we can start creating within a data center physical. It cannot match the high availability a cloud can give. And with the kind of available zones all the hyperscalers has built in India now, your data resiliency, your data security also is now gone out of, that point of view is now out. There's no problem. Each one of them has 3 to 4 zones. Okay. In that 4 zones, now they're talking about resiliency in the rack point of view. Forget about zones, seismic zones and all those. It's gone. It's about how within a data center we can create zones, right? So interestingly, one of the biggest bank who moved out from their data center to our data center and took this hyperscaler journey with us, we first created a model where we discussed that as a bank, you forget about you're going to cloud or not. If your infrastructure is like this is the architecture. Within that, for the high availability that you need to maintain for the 5 nines, always, how should my available zone should be architected? So resiliency is very clearly, related to the architecture that we created. Number one. Number two, when it's come to cloud, there was earlier a lot of concern on security and all. With all the certifications that government has laid today beyond technology, with all the regulations that RBI is, SAB, NABARD, MIT, and even in if I go by the industries further, is that life science in GRC, GDPR in manufacturing, automobile, they are all certified today, be it hyperscaler or be it our cloud, they're all certified today, right? And the flexibility that CFI brings here more is that we are the only organization who is open, because we were the second largest cloud provider to become MIT empaneled, and we have opened our data center for audits for our customers, because some of the industries need to do audit, which is a bit of problem in hyperscaler from regulation point of view, but in our cloud it is not, correct? So Nutshell, the security concern is out because it is all certified, compliant. It is technically, if you ask me, everything is available today. Even if there is an SIEM that you want to go and monitor the machines that you're bringing to cloud, that is also available, which was not there earlier, where people used to take SIM tools separately, integrate with the cloud and trying to do that. That is also available today. You want WAF, that is also available today in marketplace in AWS. You want, and you can choose any of the WAFs. You want to use Palo Alto, I want to use Cisco. Those varieties also there. So the flexibility and the architecture and the regulation certifications has gone notches high. And because if it would have not happened, the work from anywhere culture would have been not gone through, correct? So I think cloud security has taken a huge scale. Now scaling up is a very big word. Now scaling up for what? Scaling up for business or scaling up for expansion of my landscape. Now it has got two blends. If somebody is scaling up to make it more operational efficient, okay, I will definitely say it is not cloud. It is more about management or of operations and bringing more automation there and productivity and bringing the operational efficiency. Cloud is just an enabler. But if you're talking about business and scaling up, then nobody can give you then faster scale up than the hyperscaler. So one of the banks, you see those ads where your name is like Shomik is a branch, right? They do that. It is only enabled because it is only possible because if you have a cloud infrastructure where immediately on a video call we can take your KYC and you're done in 10 seconds or 10 minutes for our account. Those are only possible, and those kind of agility was only possible on cloud. Okay, so scaling up is either operational efficiency or business. Operations is more to do with the automation and productivity of the tools. On the business side, it is about the agility of the cloud. TCO, as I said, I have already spoken about it. If you clearly create the models that which workload will be only for it is more regulatory, or I will call it a more predictable workloads, they will not have a hyperscaler cannot have TCO for that. Those IaaS has to be looked as a managed private cloud or hosted cloud on a consumption-based model, right? When it comes to the outcome for the business, when it comes to the outcome for a customer satisfaction and excellence, that's where the TCO works for hyperscaler faster, correct? So it is again on the models. First, we have to decide by the workloads, which one is infrastructure as a service, which one is PaaS, which one is SaaS, where to use cloud native, what is the outcome it will derive, how much of business growth it will bring, what is the savings that can be done by that. That understanding in the assessment level with the right approach, if you don't create, then obviously there will be a bill shock.
Well, great points there. I think you explained each one of those points perfectly, and with great examples, very relevant points in the industry today. Just to wind up, there was another question that I had around cybersecurity and cyber resilience. Now, we have been talking about cybersecurity, like you rightly pointed out. We have got WAF solutions, we have got various vendors offering different solutions, and there's another conversation that's building around cyber resilience. If you could just explain to us, Anitosh, does SIFI look at cybersecurity and cyber resilience in two different ways, or is one built into the other?
Cyber resilience is part of cybersecurity. Okay. And the moment we started our journey 5 years back, where we also give our customers SOC as a service from our cloud, we obviously it started majorly in a banking segment, and now we are having MRT and we are having some 350 plus customers on that. We understood cyber security and cyber resiliency or security monitoring. This is not a technology. It's a framework for those industry where what regulation works. That's the first thing. Second, beyond regulation, there are certain needs by those particular industries of the data in a way that has to be stored. So backup plays a very important role. So that is foundation. Once we do that foundation, then we create this framework of the cybersecurity, which is beyond technology. It is not about WAF. It is not about creating a perimeter firewall. It is not about creating an NFV or a virtualized, SIM motion or enabling UBA, SOAR. It is beyond that. It is beyond that. Today, one of the largest bank in the country, we have enabled them on a zero trust security. Zero trust security will become the truth. Okay. And micro segmentation. This is where the next level of security will come, which is beyond regulation, compliance, and the foundational perimeter technologies, right? Now it is on zero trust security. Now it is on micro segmentation, which at the behem of your agility that you will be taking towards the business calls, and you have to move fast. You don't have to wait now if these technologies are inbuilt within cloud. You don't have to wait for a CISO's audit approval and then go for a business need. You will be on the fly going through this because micro segmentation is constantly checking you. Your SIM tool is constantly monitoring you. Your zero trust security is constantly keeping the application secure. So this is how we look at, again, framework, assessment, delivery model, regulations. These are the key things that we look at by industry and have a point of view for our partners.
Thanks for that, Anitosh. I think it was a great explanation. Now, just to wrap up, the question answer box is still open. If our audience has any questions, do feel free to post it in the Q&A box. In the meantime, if you could just, share with us a little bit of crystal ball gazing to wind up. In 2023 and 2024 and beyond, what are the cloud trends that you expect to see in the market? What's going to start gaining more prominence?
So before I go and talk about the trends, I will first take a step back. I think there was a need of a solution to help the cloud journey enhance, because this build shop was started because the moment we went into this work from anywhere culture, or we went into this pandemic period, we started taking cloud just like that because we have to, correct? So it has been the build shop first across the industries. So what we are doing as an organization is that we are first taking that back and creating a right architecture, right delivery model, correct? And helping the TCO to be first stable, so that then they can start taking by industry the digital use cases on cloud, correct? So that is the first thing that is happening. Second thing is that trends point of view is very clear. Customer facing workloads for revenue growth, customer experience, and CSAT will be on cloud. And it will be IaaS, PaaS, SaaS. Every models will work. Okay. The workloads which is stable, which needs predictable cost, because you cannot hit it out of the roof. Those will be non-hyperscaler cloud. Those will be like our CFI cloud inference services. And both of this has to work on an integrated platform and can be managed on a unified view. So that's where our CMP tool comes into picture. That's where our managed services of cloud comes into picture and help this to work. So from the trends point of view, it is, again, I want to call it out, any elastic, any scalable business need, which is on fly, will be on hyperscaler. Anything which is going to be regulation oriented, needs to be predictable, stable, that will be on a cloud like CFI cloud inference. So that is how the hybrid cloud motion, if you look at the reports now, earlier reports on hyperscaler was very high. Today, the cloud overall is high, but the hybrid cloud motion has gone absolutely towards the Everest. So you will see more hybrid cloud adoption rather than entirely either hyperscaler or non-hyperscaler point of view.
All right. Thanks for that. That was a pretty clear-cut picture that he shared with us. On that note, Anitosh, let's wind up the discussion. I think it was a great discussion. We had some great points. Some great insights also came up from the audience poll. And again, thank you so much for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope we had an insightful session today. That was Anitosh Haldar, the Senior Vice President and Business Head of Cloud, Data Center and Managed Services at CFI Technologies Limited. Anitosh, thanks again for your time. Lovely.